Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I would like to talk about the F-111s, because there's a slight controversy about them. I wouldn't call it a huge controversy, it's just one of those things that always pops up when it comes to adding specific vehicles to specific tech trees. And then also, let's have a look at a bunch of the camos that were in the files for the dev server. And obviously we'll come to a bunch of the vehicles that are coming to the game. It's always one of my favorite things to see all of the customization that is coming into War Thunder, because generally it's nice to be able to put your own kind of spin on things, which is very important. Anyway, let's get into the two topics. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get it started. So of course, whenever a vehicle gets added to a specific tree, when it could fit in another tree, there is always a simple question: why isn't it in that tree? And that's exactly what has happened with the new aardvark, the F-111C. The F-111C is an Australian aardvark, specifically designed for Australia, but also it is an American vehicle. That's where the vehicle was exported from, and therefore there is askings of why is it, in the British tree, and comparing it, of course, to the Aussie Abrams, the M1A1 AIM. Wolf89 on the comments section of the F-111 devblog said, so GB can get this, a US-made jet, but it could not get the Aussie Abrams. And then Smin, who is of course a community manager and generally an overall pretty nice dude, well worth chatting to, always open for dialogue, which is one of the fantastic things about him, says the Aussie Abrams is just a US Abrams operated by Australia. So really it has no connection to the UK. The F-111C is a domestic variant for Australia, never operated by the US. There was also a desire to see an F-111 for the UK, as had their own F-111 variant, but sadly, it was a cancelled project that never flew. So the C is a good solution here. If you want to learn about the F-111 which Britain was going to use, basically when the TSR-2 project was pretty much cancelled or at the end of its life because of ridiculously expensive setups, and then also the fact that it never really was needed because they decided to change their strategies in certain areas of the world, the British turned to the Americans with the F-111K, which was a basic F-111 but would have British internals, such as avionics. It never got finished, though, because Britain once again decided, well, we're not really going to use it for the roles that we wanted to, so what's the point? So they just never finished it. So this is a compromise between adding that type of vehicle and just adding an F-111 to the tech tree. And this is something that I brought up many times when it comes to War Thunder, and it's a really important point that people always get annoyed at, and it's unfortunately the case every single time. Whenever a vehicle gets added to a nation where it could get added to another nation, the reason for it is balance, and also because it means that you have increased plurality across the game or increased variety. There is absolutely no point in adding an F-111A, C, and also F to the American tech tree, especially since the C and the F are very close to each other. Then you would have to make one a squadron vehicle or a premium, and also it would mean the British tech tree would lose out because they would just not get a strike aircraft. When it comes to the Aussie Abrams, unfortunately what Smin has said is true, but also missing some of the facts. The M1A1 AIM is specifically designed for Australia. It is taking an older chassis and putting it to Australian requirements. This is just a very, very silly way of semantics, saying that they're different when they are just not. And this is the problem with this whole setup. And it's why the actual major thing that needs to be focused on is the second part, which is the fact that there are people who wanted the F-111 in the British tree, and also there was already something in the American tree which was very similar to it, so there's no point in putting it in the American tree. That is the main reason. The main reason is balance. The main reason is that. There is no need for other explanations, but there is always this need to throw in these minor explanations to try and get people on their side, the people who are sat on the historical or realistic point of view, instead of just saying what needs to be said. And the reason is gameplay. It will always be gameplay. That's why all of these types of changes happen. It's because of gameplay. It's to try and help people play different tech trees. It's to try and increase variety. Same reason why the SK-105 is in the French tree and also the German tree. The same reason why a bunch of specific naval vehicles are in their naval tech trees, to try and increase the plurality of the game, but also at the same time to try and make it a bit more balanced so people will play different areas. If you don't add that vehicle to Britain, what does Britain have to put in that slot? They don't have anything. If you add it to America, what ends up happening is you just have a bunch of vehicles that are already there. With the Aussie Abrams, if you add it to Britain, what do you have in that slot? We already have a bunch of Challengers. You have, of course, the Bishma, and then also maybe future export vehicles. You even have stuff like the Vickers too, which is sad there. So would it add something to Britain at the moment? Yes, it would add a slightly different playstyle, but they may have plans in the future to make that playstyle a reality in different areas, or they want to keep the playstyle of the British in one way, so it's actually different from America. This is why it's so mind-boggling to see something like the T90 event vehicle, because it goes against that idea. And then you realize, once again, what I just said a few minutes ago. There are no rules for each specific nation. Every nation has its own specific rules. Every vehicle has its own specific rules, and it's why they don't have concrete definitions on what gets added where, because the only thing that matters is balance. And I know a lot of you guys don't think they do a great job at balance, but that is not even the conversation. The conversation isn't how good they are at doing it. The conversation is what are they focusing on, and that is what is focused on. On the dev server, they also added a bunch of camos for the new airplanes, which are coming to the game, and they look really cool, if I'm honest. There's a bunch of them which are really nice. Remember, you do get kind of standard camos that you can grind out in the game, and then also you get paid camos, and then you get the box camos, which are camos made by community members. These are ones which are either going to be challenge camos or GE camos for these specific vehicles. These are also provided by Chabby. And if you want to get access to this information firsthand, I'll leave a link in the description to the snail mine, which has all of this for you. So, to start off with, we have the A10C, and it has a WW2 camo, which basically looks like an old camo from the Second World War period, which is really nice. The Italian IDS Tornado, which is the new one, it's getting a 259 camo. Then also we have the AVAB NA KD, which is looking quite nice. That one actually will probably have a bunch of camos since it's a premium, and you'll be able to enjoy them. The F-111C, so the Australian F-111, gets a 30 years camo, and the F-111F gets a Miss Liberty 2 camo as well, which looks very standard compared to a lot of the other ones. The J10 gets 2 camos, which both look really nice. You've got the aerobatic camo, which is the standard one you've probably seen from a lot of the pictures, and then also the J10A white camo, which is just the standard one for most Chinese vehicles. The JF-17 also gets 2, a green one, and guess what? A grey one, so great names there. And the P16 Mark III, which is the new Switch vehicle coming to the German tech tree, that's also getting a green camo too, which kind of looks green, but there's a lot of other colours going on too, so not really sure what's going on there. The Sea Fury for the Netherlands, or the Dutchies, in the French tech tree, is also getting 2, the Aerobats camo, and also the Extra Dark camo. The Seahawk Mark 50, the premium, that is coming to the Dutch part of the French tech tree, that is getting the 667 camo. And then the Su-24M is getting an Algeria camo and also a desert camo, with the Al-Khalid, of course, getting its pre-order bonus digital camo that we saw in the dev blog. So a lot of cool camos that were added. Wished I could have had a look at them, but I'm sure when the live server comes either this week or next week, we'll be able to have a look and see what is there. As always, though, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shia, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.